Hello and welcome to the More You NoCo, a podcast about the community and ideas all around northern Colorado. I'm your host, Ivan Wayne. Let's crack it open. This time on the show, we are featuring Dr. Pat Weakland. This guy. So, get this. Co-founder and co-owner with his wife of Plant Escape in Windsor and High Hops Brewery in Windsor. In addition, the day before I did the interview, I found out that this guy is also a doctor of dentistry and runs his own dentist practice in Windsor. Phenomenal guy. He admitted that Friday is his busiest day, and yet he still took time to chat with me for an hour out there in his brew house. Amazing facility where they were loading and unloading. So please excuse the background noise, but we were up in the second story scaffolding of this brew house. It was a wonderful location to have a conversation. I sat down with a delicious beer, and I was very lucky to sit down with Dr. Pat Weakland. Hope you enjoy. Of the, what would you call this, the brewing?
The mezzanine in the brew house.
The mezzanine in the brew house, behind and part of High Hops Brewery. I'm sitting here with co-founder and co-owner of High Hops Brewery, Pat Weakland. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. It's nice to have you here, Ivan.
Yeah, thanks for making time. So you co-founded and co-own High Hops with your wife, Amanda.
Yes.
How did this all start? I saw a little bit of your history on the website, but if you could walk through that, it's a fascinating story.
It is a good story. It started out with the garden center as far as about 1992. We had a garden center starting. It was called Plant Escape. We had a small place on the corner of 7th and Main in Windsor. It is a mobile thing that we did once a month or once a year in April through June. So we'd have the plants there and get that going, and we did that for about 10 years. Bought this piece of land on the west end of Windsor and developed the garden center in 2000. So the garden center is it's about 11,500 square feet. It's a year-round garden center nursery as we started. Now it's not a nursery anymore because we got out of trees and shrubs. So as the season progresses, winter comes in, and there's not much to do in the garden center in the winter time, so it's hard to keep employees and stuff. So what we did is kind of muted it into a full-time venture, starting a homebrew shop in 2010. But before we did that, in 2007, I started a hop farm. So I gathered about as many dang hop plants as we could, about 53 different varieties. We started selling them online, and had one of the first online hop plant sales in the country, and it was very successful. We stopped doing that last year, but the hop farm got us going. It's like, what are we going to do with all these hops that we're getting? And so then we named that hop farm High Hops because it's high altitude. It was before the pot thing hit, and it had nothing to do with the pot. It had nothing and everything to do with where our hop farm was.
Yeah.
So in 2010, we opened a home brew shop, and we started teaching people how to brew beer, selling ingredients, giving people advice on how to tweak their recipes to get zero in on what they wanted. And Zach and I, my son, he's our head brewer. He and I would brew beer in the greenhouse every weekend, and people would come by and watch us brew, and we'd talk about beer and talk about malts and grains and hops and yeast and everything, and hear stories about people's travels and all the different beers that they had everywhere in the world. And we did that for 2 years. And in 2012, after we were brewing out on the patio out here, I'm thinking, my God, this would be a beautiful place to have a brewery. Let's look at all this. This is, a lot of people were excited about that. Came up with really cool recipes that were repeatable. And High Hops Brewery was born in 2012, October. That's when we opened the doors. And we started out with the 10-barrel system, which is our first brew house as you drive into the garden center. It says High Hops Brewery right there. In 2014, we went to a craft beer convention in Portland, Oregon, and Zach and my wife and I were sitting on the river after we did a bunch of courses and walking through the convention and stuff, thinking we should take this to the next level. it's pretty popular with the motive that we have is all types of beer for all types of people. And that was one thing that we wanted to stick with, is not just stay on one style of beer or one different facet of brewing. Make all kinds of different beers. So we built a production facility, and that's where we're in right now. So it's a 30-barrel system with a bunch of fermenters and real tall buildings, so we can add giant fermenters in the future if we grow into it.
Right. Bought
a big canning line from Cody Canning Line out in Golden, and so now we have 2 different brew houses, a 10-barrel and a 30-barrel brew house. One's for production and one's for on-site.
Right.
So in the tasting room, which is nice, is we have 40 different taps on, 27 different beers usually. New beer every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday.
Wow.
So Wednesday's hump day, and a firkin is a 5-gallon vessel that you make a special beer for. So we have we make a firkin for Wednesday. So we call that Firkin Hump Day.
I've seen that, like, I think on social media or like your promotions, and I never knew what Firkin Wednesday was, and here I am.
Now you know.
Yeah.
So it's a different beer, and some of those beers that really take off, well, we'll do a big batch of them, like a 10-barrel batch.
Yeah.
And then serve them up in the tasting room. And some of those ones that are like stellar, that are, they sell out in a week or so, or people want it back, we'll do it again. And then we try to enter those in our Colorado Can Series, that we can that beer and we make a limited release, and then 200 cases of beer, and that's it. And then they're gone.
Right.
And it's a one and done thing, and then we'll probably return them in about a year or so.
Do you feel like people are willing to try out your new stuff and try out different beers than they're used to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's popular about having 27 different taps, 27 different beers in there.
Yeah.
And it's you can't have that many beers. If a beer sits around too long, it kind of goes stale, loses its flavor, kind of oxidizes or gets old flavor. So what's nice is we have a pretty big following. We're lucky as heck to have that big following, and people try new beers all the time. So yeah, we people come in specifically for the Firkin on Wednesday.
Right.
And then they come in and, hey, what's new? What's new on tap? So they try those, and they always try the house beers too that we always have on tap. So that's, people like those.
Right. Well, during our interview, I'm sitting here with the Golden Radler. What's the full name?
Well, I don't know which one you're drinking. Is it, I didn't see you pour it. So is that the golden one?
Yeah. So it's the golden one, but it's one of your variants on it with the Radler, the citrus.
Okay. So it has a little. Is it a little sour and salty?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that's very refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that has is little lemon verbena. We grow the lemon verbena on our farm.
Oh, nice.
And coriander is also in there too. So that's maybe you're tasting some of that.
Yeah.
And then the Gosa style is it's kettle soured. So, and then it has a little salt added to it too. So it gives it a very unique flavor.
Right. Yeah. First sip, I knew I was going to like this beer.
Good.
So, yeah. So looking through your history, there was a part of it, I don't think you mentioned, in 2006 there was some sort of hops shortage. Was that
2007? Yeah, hop
2007,
shortage.
yeah.
Went all over the country. There's like a lot of craft brewers were buying up all the hops, and there weren't enough hops to provide all the homebrew shops with good hops. There's just a few that you could get. So I was like, God, I had to do this myself. I've got this land. We got a garden center. I got a green thumb, and let's grow hops. So I started accumulating every different hop plant I could get, and so we did. And then what are we going to do with them? So we decided to sell them on the internet and root them out, not just sell rhizomes, but actual plants themselves.
Oh, right.
And then we got about 2,000 of them in 1-gallon pots, grew in our greenhouses up north, and then put them in the ground with hop poles, and that was the start of the hop farm.
So they were growing out here on these giant poles out here in this field right next to the brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I came here, I was curious what you all were growing out there. I didn't know much about hops back then. So now that's where you were growing them.
Yeah, we started it over again. We had some flooding issues. So when the hop field got flooded, and it stayed flooded for about a year and a half, when they developed Highway 392 when they built all this new interchange and stuff. They kind of messed the drainage up. So our field got inundated with water, pretty much killed our hop farm. So we had to dig it all out. We took all the poles up, put new poles in, put new plants in, raised the rows where the hops grow. And then, so this is kind of pretty much the first year of them growing again. At about year 3, they'll start really producing. You'll see some good walls of hops going.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just kept them low.
Right. Did I hear right that you're stopping growing your own hops? Or is that...
No. We just planted a brand new farm.
Right.
Yeah. So we replanted it. This is the first year it's replanted.
Yeah. When I was looking through your story, it was interesting to me because... So, how I found you all the first time was my roommate that I lived with last summer was really into biking. And I never really rode a bike, admittedly, since I was a kid. And he let me borrow one of his bikes. I ended up getting my own. I'm a huge, I'm into biking now because of him. Shout out to Ian. And he said, you got to come over. You got to ride the Poudre Trail with me. And we got to end at High Hops. And I was like, what is that? I've lived in Greeley for 3 years. I had never really come to Windsor. And so we show up at High Hops. And I'm not, Pat is not sitting here paying me to say this. This is not an advertisement. But I will tell you, when I walked up to this place, it was an experience I hadn't had at a brewery before. I was like, wow, they grow and sell plants here. You got this beautiful view. There's actually live music when we happened to show up, and the artist was really nice. And just the overall vibe, and then the amount of beers you all had. And I tried 3 that afternoon, and they were all spectacular. And it just became one of my favorite breweries instantly, just because it all came together. And I think it's fascinating that I thought you all were a brewery who just happened to like growing flowers and plants on the side, but it was actually the opposite, the way it got started.
Correct.
So you were home brewing, and then eventually, after learning some knowledge, you thought, well, heck, we can do this. And that seemed like a viable thing for you all. Was it a little scary to jump into the brewery business, or?
Well, yeah, we had a lot of experience doing business, and after coaching so many people on how to brew different beers and learning from them also, and honing in on different types of beers and what to use and different temperatures, different fermentation stuff, different mash outs, all kinds of different things, different yeast to use. It was a natural, gosh, we could have a very unique brewery with an unobstructed mountain view in front of a hop field and have the tasting room in a greenhouse looking at that. I've never seen another brewery like that.
Right.
And so it was this would be really cool. Let's try it. And it just grew and grew and grew. And we're just lucky to have this greenhouse and facility and a customer base to support us.
Yeah. Yeah, I know multiple people in Greeley who come over here to High Hops exclusively when you have live music, and they just love the outdoor music scene that you all provide. And can you talk a little bit about that? Because not every brewery hosts live music, and especially not as often as you all.
Well, yeah, we pride ourselves on having some good quality local music. Sometimes we get some different music from people that are traveling through, but it was real important to us to make it a community fit, and what would draw people other than just beer is to have some local artists come in and play music Fridays, Saturdays, and evolved into Friday, Saturdays, Sundays. Now we have Thursdays going on where we have trivia night and comedy night and music showcases, so that there's a guy that ran our hop farm for a while. He's a musician, Josh Vogler. He plays right now with the House with the Band, and they're stellar. They're really good, and he comes in every Thursday night and brings in a musician that hasn't, that he wants to showcase, and it's wow, these guys are really good. So every first Thursday, he's out here, and then Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sundays. So in the wintertime, we have him in the beer garden, and we convert one of the greenhouses into a beer garden, and it can handle 200 people, and it's fun stuff. We enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely have to endorse that back area, because when I first came to High Hops, unless I was unaware of it, it didn't exist back here. And now you have this amazing backspace right behind your plant store and the brewery, like front desk. And so there's this back area, and I guess you do music back there too. But it's like there's plants everywhere, and you have this ceiling that is like, I'm assuming, left over from the greenhouse.
It is the greenhouse. Yeah. So in the wintertime, when we're not using it as a garden center, we convert it into a beer garden.
Right.
So we bring all the tables in and set it all up and put the stage up there. And so when it's crappy outside, the band plays inside, and when it's really nice outside, the band plays outside.
Right.
And sometimes now that we opened up our distillery. It's called the Heart Distillery. We have that now, and we have sometimes solo artists that'll be playing in here while we have a band outside. So it's a pretty unique gig that we got going here.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. Unique is a perfect word, and it's an awesome place to come check out, I think. So the Heart Distillery, you had a soft opening a little earlier, but the grand opening's this weekend.
Right.
Yeah. What liquors are you all looking to make and produce through there?
Well, right now we have vodka, absinthe, whiskey, and bourbon, and rum and gin will be coming shortly. And so with those drinks that we already have, that spirits, we can make a lot of cool, unique mixed drinks. And the thing that we're doing there is we're using a lot of our own house-grown herbs to put in our spirits. So
right.
Mint juleps, Moscow mules, all those things. That we have our own little lemon cocktails that we put our lemon verbena in.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, there's some unloading going on here.
Yeah.
In the building here. We're doing it live.
Awesome.
What inspired you to add on the distillery on this?
Diversification.
I feel like you already had that down, and now you're just one-upping yourself out here.
That's all right. That's it brings it makes it a different place, because so many people would come in here and say, hey, do you guys have any wine or any other mixed drinks or anything? It's like, because beer isn't, a lot of people like beer, but not everyone likes beer. Some people like wine. Some people like mixed drinks. And we can't sell wine here, but we can have mixed drinks. And so we decided, let's make a still. The still sits right next to our brew house in our new building. And part of the distillation process uses a lot of the same equipment as the brewery does. So we can go back and forth really easy and have the Heart Distillery purchase the brew house or the distillation mash that goes into making whiskey or gin or vodka or rum or absinthe in our distillation process. And it makes it really pure, makes it nice and clean too. And we get to reuse those barrels that we store our liquors in, the whiskey, bourbon, rum, all those barrels that we're going to be aging stuff in. We'll reuse them and put our beer into them. And right now we have about 80 different barrels of bourbon and rum barrels that we have our beer aging in. And pretty soon, once those barrels of beer are emptied into kegs and we serve them up and sell them around the state, we'll have those barrels used in our spirits. So we will have some really unique spirits that will be served up exclusively at the Heart.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and then we use those barrels again to put beer back into.
Right.
And so we can do a lot of different things with our brew house and our distillation process. So
yeah, it's all here in one place.
It is.
Yeah. When I first came here, one of the beers I just fell in love with, and I got every subsequent time I came back. It's no longer here, I don't think. It was a bourbon barrel-aged stout called something like the Darkest Night or something like that.
There's a couple of them. So there's a Russian Imperial Stout that we age in a rum barrel. It's just I can't even remember what the name was, but it's going to come back. That was the first beer that we brewed in our new system here in November. So it has to age about a year before we can put it in there. Right now we have 16 55-gallon barrels of rum barrels sitting in our storehouse.
Wow.
And it's a rum barrel aged Russian Imperial Stout. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So where'd you all get your your liquor barrels before the Hart Distillery started firing up?
Well, we haven't used any of the Hart Distillery barrels yet because it's pretty new, so we have to age that for a while. So right now we're getting them fairly local. Some of them are from Stranahan. Some of them are from Breckenridge Brewery. Some are from different distilleries around the country. Some are from Jamaica. Some are from Mexico. We use tequila barrels in some that we've gotten in Mexico. And a lot of them we'll just get from a local guy that sources them out. He's from Denver, Rocky Mountain Barrel Company. Those guys can provide you with a lot of different barrels because they search all over. Different Chardonnay barrels from Sonoma or France, or makes it's pretty cool. You need to see our barrel house.
I think I do. That would be fascinating.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. Did your Denver contact person get you in touch with these other countries, or
no?
Was that you?
No, we found those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found those, and sometimes he would find them for us too.
Right.
But he puts a list out. Hey, this is what I got. You guys want some? And he sells them all over to different breweries. So.
Yeah. Wow, that's just, my mind is being blown here. Like every 5 minutes, going through this. So I only know this because of working over my summer job here in Windsor. But my supervisor for my part-time job out here, working for Open Space and Trails, told me that you're also a dentist here in town.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to meet another brewer, third-generation grower of plants, and also a dentist, all in the same town.
I've been a dentist for almost 30 years now in town. In Windsor, my wife and I moved here in 1980. That's when we started our practices, 1989, in downtown Windsor, and just been treating people for a long time. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah. How do you balance the three? How do you balance everything?
Family. My family does it. So my son, my daughter, my wife, they work the garden center pretty much most of the time, and then I come in on my weekends and help out when I can, help build things, help manage things, help unload trucks, help with anything that needs to be done. So it kind of balances the dentistry out. So in the dentistry thing, you're minute, super detailed construction. Where out here you can get a hammer and a sledgehammer and a shovel and bang things and beat things up and not have to be as super precise. And it makes me a better dentist. It makes me a better manager and part owner of this place, balancing the two.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that? That's kind of a fascinating point. Like how does working here help you become a better dentist and vice versa?
Just what I said.
Right.
I can come out here. Working the dentistry it can be very stressful. So if you work 5 days a week every day, and I did that for 15 years, 5 days a week, and 8 to 5, it got pretty inundating. And once we started doing the home brewing and the hop farm and everything else and the garden center stuff, it got a lot less stressful, and I think I enjoyed my job a lot more. I became more relaxed. I could just go in there, and it didn't stress me out to do any dentistry. It still doesn't. I feel very comfortable doing it. And this job allows me to step back from doing that dentistry, and I can go back in there and be very, very focused on what I do, and then know that I have this place to come back and help own and manage and fix and build and be creative. And we surround ourselves with a lot of creativity here at the brewery and the garden center. There's a lot of really talented, unique individuals that work here. And to get all those people flowing and their ideas and stuff, it's just really cool to be around. I enjoy that.
Yeah, contagious.
Yeah.
I imagine this. Do you have any patients that have been in your office, you as their dentist, and then months, maybe even over a year go by, and they realize that you're the owner of High Hops? Like they see you
Absolutely,
here,
yeah.
And they just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing here? Hey, it's a fairly small town. It was really small at one time. Now it's like 30,000 people. But we get that all the time. I got a new patient the other day. He said, I said, where'd you hear me? He said, no, I saw you down at High Hops. And they said, you own the place. I said, yeah. And so I said, well, you must be a good dentist too if you're making beer. So it's kind of fun. Get that all the time.
Right. So you said you moved to Windsor in the late 80s, early 90s?
89.
Yeah. So what brought you to Windsor originally?
There was a dental office for sale.
Yeah.
My wife was in vet school, and I was a dentist in Windsor and said, let's do this. Went to school in Denver, CU Dental School. When I graduated, I was living in Fort Collins, and then bought this practice. That was a guy, a retired dentist, and I bought his practice, and that brought us into Windsor. At that point, Windsor was about 3,000 people large, and you could walk down the street and know everybody in town. It was a lot smaller. Now it's a lot bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to Windsor, growing in size by 10 times. A lot of times there's growing pains when small towns start to grow, and certain people don't keep up, but the fact that your dental office is still here and you've got these multiple businesses, I think it's a testament to you and your family and your presence here in Windsor. It's really neat to see. Are you from Colorado originally?
Yeah.
Growing up? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Englewood.
Okay.
And in Longmont. I was born in Denver, grew up in Englewood, and then I moved to Longmont when I was in 6 years old. Went to schools in Longmont. Went to Western State College in Gunnison. That's where I met my wife. My daughter went to school there. My son went to CSU. I'm a 4th generation Coloradoan. So,
okay, Colorado native.
Yeah.
Yeah, very neat. So you've been a member of Northern Colorado for most of your life, if not all. Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, I moved here 4 years ago. I think one of the things I moved out here just because.
Where'd you move from?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, okay.
I was tired of the concrete jungle.
Sure.
Yeah,
hot, humid.
Yeah, and traffic. Oh my God, 35. Yeah, don't get me started. 6:35. Anyway, it was a concrete jungle, and I just kind of realized, I grew up in Oklahoma. I wanted something different. So there was a person I was dating at the time, and we just kind of thought, Colorado, why not? And my buddy went to the Air Force Academy down in Colorado Springs, and he invited me for a vacation. And I always remember we stopped at a gas station. I'd never seen the Rocky Mountains in person. And that seems strange to some people, but I just never vacationed out this way. So I see the Rocky Mountains for the first time at age, 23, 24? And we stepped out at a gas station. I said, I'm going to move here. And I did. 3 months later, I moved to Greeley.
Awesome.
And made it work. So, yeah, and when I got here, I was just captured by the community and just how Northern Colorado is like a bunch of big, small towns. And I think it really works. It drives a sense of community. All the interviews I've done, community, that word comes up in every single interview. And I think that's a true testament to this area. I mean, have you felt that?
Oh, absolutely.
Being here in Windsor?
Absolutely. Yeah. You put roots in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know a lot of people, they know you, and so you be true back to your community who supports you, and you support them, and it's just a big revolving circle. It's pretty cool to have roots.
Right. Yeah.
In a community, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I imagine you have patients who you started treating one of their parents, and now you treat the child.
Yeah, it's pretty cool watching some family come in, and then as we all get older, they have kids, and I see their kids, and I've seen their kids. Yeah, it's a revolving circle. It's pretty special.
Yeah. Have you ever had a patient who was excited to turn 21 so they could roll on down to your brewery?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we have employees that work here too that when they turn 21, they're pretty excited about it too.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That they could be less than 21 but working at a brewery.
Well, they're working in the garden center.
They're working in the garden center, right.
Yeah, then after a certain time they'll get a shift beer. After the day's over with, and people get a shift beer. It's pretty fun.
That's neat. So you were the first brewery in Windsor, right? And there's one more brewery in Windsor, but it's kind of Mash Lab.
Yeah,
it's like further out though, right?
Yeah, they're up by the Walmart distribution center.
Right.
Yeah, right, just south of the big water tanks up there.
Yeah. Yeah, so you all are a little bit off the Poudre Trail. Oh, yeah. And another thing that I enjoyed when I first walked in here was that you all give a small discount on your first beer if you rode your bike in here. And I was like, whoa, like, I just happened to be riding my bike that day.
Sure.
So it's super neat. Yeah, and we were talking before the podcast started about how the Poudre Trail is actually going to be a lot closer to you in the future, hopefully. Right?
It's a half a mile away right now, approximately, and it'd be cool if it gets to run right on either side of us. I don't know where it's going to be, but we've opened the doors up, and I've not closed any door for where that gets to go on our, from our property, except It doesn't get to go right through the middle of it.
Yeah, in Dallas there was this running trail that like goes through a little forested area of the city. And I was out there going for a jog, my very first time, and there's a bar on the trail, and it's called the Katy Trail Ice House.
Awesome.
And it just blew my mind. Like, what is this? And so, yeah, it could be cool to have the Poudre Trail run a little closer to High Hops, and people might see you more, especially there are talks that eventually it'll travel between FOCO and Greeley, and my bet is there are a lot of people that don't know about High Hops. I didn't. Until about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So it could be good exposure.
Well, it'd be really cool because if it goes all the way through, even all the way to the east end of Greeley and then all the way into downtown Fort Collins, that would be really cool because you can go from, New Belgium, Odell's, through the Poudre Trail, go through, High Hops, then end up in somewhere in Greeley at one of the breweries down there. What a cool bike ride that would be.
It would, like a brewery
tour bike.
Right, yeah.
Bike and drink.
Yeah, do like a Tour de France, but make it about breweries. And if anybody's out there listening, you need to jump on this idea. You need to think about that for when this trail finishes up. What comes into your head for new beers? Like, what does that process look like for you all?
New beers?
Just like
new
ideas?
So we come up with a new beer every week, every Wednesday. We've been doing that for almost 6 years now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of creativity going in there, and there's a lot of revisiting old ideas with different fruits, different herbs, different malts, different grains, different yeasts, different temperatures. So it's an experimental, exploratory process of trying to brew different beers. There's a Noel, he's our Firkin manager, amazing guy, comes up with all kinds of cool recipes for that stuff. Super creative mindset on that man, and his title is Firkin manager. He's a brewery, he's a brew house guy, and he's one of our brewers and Firkin manager. So he comes up with a lot of those things, talking to people, getting ideas, and revisiting things, and then tweaking old recipes, tweaking old Firkins, and trying to one up them and make them better. Right. And it's the proverbial search for the best beer. And so we're always searching for that new style, the new thing that might hit. And some of them we probably already stumbled into years ago, and then now they're coming up as big, huge, fancy things. But with that many different beers that we come up with a new one every week, it's really fun.
Have you noticed trends change through the years owning the brewery, or like preferences more for IPAs or for certain things?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of people, now. What really surprised me is when we opened up, we had this the dark one. It's a milk stout. It's a real nice dark. It has some sweetness to it from the lactose that we put in there, and then it also has some coffee aroma, and with the different types of grains that we use, and different people would really like that. And you'd be surprised that a lot of women liked the dark one more than the men, and that was like really surprising to me. So some of the trends are, you go with the coffee beers were big at one time, and now they're kind of slowing down, but they're revisiting now. Now the big beers that come up, the barrel aged rum that has a little rum or brandy or whiskey flavor to it, when you get that smell when you put it up to your mouth, those things are in, they're seasonal. The fruit beers, the saisons, those things are all they rotate. Everything rotates. The East Coast IPA, those things are big. The hazy IPAs, those are big. We have Eastern Star that just killed it for us. That was we're out. We sold out of that really fast. Yes, there's all kinds of different trends, and it's fun to watch them roll through.
Yeah,
and to explore them.
Yeah, I imagine it could be neat, like a moving target that you're just trying to kind of peck at every now and then.
Oh yeah,
it's neat.
Yeah, you have to inside the brew house in our tasting room. It evolves faster. The cans and stuff. So when you buy a can of beer and you want to put a beer out into market, into the liquor stores, that makes it difficult because you have to buy a whole truckload of cans to you have to really invest into that beer.
You got to commit
to make that. Yeah, you really have to. So it has to be something that you're going to sell out there and people want. So you don't just do that to any of those things. Some of the breweries have mobile canning lines that come in and they'll run a sleeve. So they'll sleeve the cans or put a label on it and then they package it for them. We invested in having our own can line, and we buy our own cans that are pre-printed, and it's a lot more investment, but the payoff is better. Mm-hmm. I think that you're more consistent with your quality of packaging when you can control it with your own machinery.
Right, and so it's worth it.
Yeah. So it's important to us. We're one of the first brew houses. I think we're probably one of the smallest breweries in the country that has its own centrifuge. So we made a commitment to make quality beer when we package it. So we run our beer through a centrifuge, not just through a filter or a screen or something. It's spun out of there. All those dead yeast cells, we try to get most of them out by spinning them out, at fast speeds to separate the liquid from the particulates inside that liquid. So it gives you a longer shelf life, tastes crisper. When you run it through a filter, it changes the profile of that beer a little bit. So we don't run it through a filter, we centrifuge it.
Wow. So it's like a huge tank that spins it at a high speed.
It's that thing right down there.
Oh, it's right over there, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big, huge, pricey investment that we put in so that we could maintain quality.
Right. And am I right in saying you all can 7 beers right now, or is that more?
Let's see. There's Zeus, Golden, Dr. Pat's, Blueberry Wheat, Habanero Honey, the honeyed one, the cold one, and then our Colorado Can Series. So there's 8 different, at least 8 different beers that we're canning. Mm-hmm. And the Colorado Can Series is one we make a label for each time, and it's like I said before, it's a 200 case, one and done thing. Sometimes we do 300 cases, but that's been a real popular beer for us too.
Right. How far do you all distribute your cans?
Well, right now we're going pretty much. We got a new distributor, so we're super excited about that. That's a whole nother process right there, a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Western Distributing took us over. They Tivoli Distributing went out of business. They were the ones that carried us throughout the rest of Colorado for a while. They went out of business. Western Distributing took over from Tivoli, so they're carrying that. And then Western just bought out the distribution rights from American Eagle, which was our northern Colorado distributor. So now we're carried throughout the state of Colorado by Western. So we're in the high country. We're all along I-25, down into Pueblo, Fort Collins, Denver, Boulder, Longmont, Loveland, Greeley, Fort Collins, Springs, Vail, that whole Vail Valley.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. We just got on with a distributor in Texas. So we are in Temple, Texas. That's where our distributor is down there, and they serve 5 counties. So Waco, Kellen, Temple, Austin.
Oh, nice.
So,
Austin, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So we're pretty excited about getting beer down there. And that was about a month ago that we got beer down there for the first time.
I think it'd be neat if someone has a high hops can of beer down there in Texas, looks it up, and says, I got to go to Northern Colorado. I got to visit the mecca of where this beer came from. It's very neat. I know I definitely thought that when I moved here. I had New Belgium before I moved, and I realized I live 45 minutes from New Belgium. Like, I got to go eventually, you know.
Sure.
Rolled over there. Dr. Pat's, you mentioned. Before today, I might not know that is. I'm going to assume that's named after you.
They named it after me.
And why that beer? Is it your favorite?
It's my favorite beer. Yeah.
And what type of beer is that?
It's a double IPA. So one of the things with Dr. Pat's double IPA is it was a proverbial search for our best IPA that could be made, and we thought we'd keep trying it. So it was our 18th different tweak of the beer, and we're on like 39, 40 right now, and we serve those up in the tasting room. Every month or so, we'll come up with a new Dr. Pat's, but the ones that we put in the cans is Series 18, and that 18. was one of our best IPAs that I've ever had in my life. And it's like, oh my God, this is it. This is the one we're going to can. This is the one we're going to put out in the market. The first 5 months we put that out, we entered into different competitions, and we won a gold medal in the craft brewery competition in Oregon.
Oh, nice.
And that was a giant win for us. A gold medal on a double IPA is pretty special. And then a month later, we entered it into the New York International Beer Festival, got a bronze. It took a bronze at the Australian International. It took a gold medal at the Denver International, took a gold medal in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas International. And so it's a coast-to-coast international.
Dang.
So it got 5 really serious medals within 5 months of releasing number 18. And so that was the special search for our IPA.
Yeah. Well, now I've never tried Dr. Pat's, and now I'm going to have to.
It's a big beer.
Yeah.
You have to try it.
That is so neat. Great American Beer Fest is coming up.
Yes.
Are you all going to have a booth down there?
We are not having a booth down there.
Yeah.
No, we're not having a booth down there.
Yeah, I was surprised at the price. I casually looked up and I was like, oh my God. You know, I've heard that it's something I have to go to, but it has gotten so popular. Like the tickets, I was like, not right now.
It's a great festival. We've done it in the past. It's not the price of being down there doesn't bother us so much. It's the fact that when you're in Colorado at that size of venue, most of the people want to go see other breweries and other beer when they're down there, because it's a one-time thing. You get to see all those breweries in one spot. Why do you want to, if you're from Colorado, why do you want to go see the breweries that you can already see? So it's not as successful as a venue for us. We have events going on here during that beer festival too, but that's one of the things that we're just not a big proponent of being at that festival.
Right. Yeah.
I love that festival. I go every year. I've never missed a festival. So I always personally go.
Yeah.
But when I go, I like to see the different breweries from all over the country.
Right.
I don't like to go see the Colorado breweries. And I think a lot of people feel that same way.
Yeah.
So that's one reason we're not there.
That's a good point. I had never really considered. Yeah. Because, you know, Avery's a big name, or High Hops, or New Belgium, Weldworks and Greeley. But if I went to Great American Beer Fest, I'm probably not going to stop by those booths because
you've already had those.
Yeah, and I can have them like any weekend that I want. That's a good point. So I want to finish up with 2 last questions because Dr. Pat Weakland here, dentist, gardener, brewer. He's got a lot on his hands here on Friday. But 2 last questions. How did you come up with the idea or the mantra behind all types of beer for all types of people? Why did that stick out to you?
That was when we were doing our home brew shop and teaching people how to brew beer. We would have requests of what style of beer do you guys want us to teach? What should we brew next? And we got stuck, different. Hey, let's do Belgian beers. No, those are cool. Let's do dark ale beers. Let's do Mexican lagers. No, let's do just a straight up pale ale. Let's do a Kolsch style. Let's do a saison. So we was like, God, there's all kinds of cool beers. I do not want to limit us to what we can brew. So we'd say let's brew them all. So we came up with the slogan, all types of beer for all types of people. It was going to be all styles of beer for all types of people. It's like, no, let's just do all types for all types. So that way we're not limited. And when we have a unlimited imagination of the different styles of beer that are out there and the different types of beer and the different types of people and their tastes, we can tell somebody when they ask, what kind of beer should I go to? We can say, well, what's your preference? We have a beer for you. And that's where that came from.
Yeah, that's neat. I want to end on, you got the plant shop, you got the brewery, distillery, and the dentistry. So answer this however you want, but what is next for Pat Weakland? What's on the horizon?
Yeah. Staying the course. I don't want to venture out. I want to travel. I want to see different places and just start working this place and making it efficient and not growing anymore. We just built this big, huge building right here, and we're tired of construction. We have a new distributor, so we want to focus on production and getting the beer out to people and focusing on utilizing this facility.
And it's a beautiful facility. I said it before, but if you've not been out here at High Hops, you got to check it out. And I suspect you will not be here just once. So Pat, if you want to reach out, ask you anything, they could probably stop on by. But is there an email or just social media? How can people?
So we have a Facebook page, and it's just High Hops Brewery. There's also a website, highhopsbrewery.com. And if you want to reach out to us and say suggestions or anything, or make comments, or just reach out and ask us anything, there's a comment sheet on the website for highhopsbrewery.com.
Okay.
Give us a call. Come by, check out the brewery, see the live music.
Excellent. And maybe go get a tooth fixed while you're at it.
No. Not at the brewery.
No. I meant stopping by. So, thank you, Pat.
All right. Thank you, Ivan. Yeah. Take care of yourself.
I want to say a very special thanks to Russell Isaac Long, the man responsible for writing and mixing all the music tracks used here at the More You NoCo. If you'd like to access any content in addition to these episodes, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The More You NoCo. If you have ideas for people you'd like to hear on the show, hit us up at the email themoreyouKnoco@gmail.com. Until next time, peace!